So this is how this goes. I don't know if you heard my diatribe on June 15th, but I um recorded it and then I thought, oh my gosh, there's just it's such a large topic and there's so much more to say. And in particular with addicts, this is the probably the single most thing people are wrestling with. They don't know where the boundaries are. They don't know what they can say and cannot say. They've been brainwashed. Parents, spouses, loved ones have been brainwashed. It's a serious thing. So I to that end, I just want to tell a little story to try and illustrate. I have a friend who raised multiple kids, and she had a son that was particularly disrespectful to her and their household, their property, when he was growing up. And when he got to be, I don't know, 20, he got a job and he wanted to um, save money so he could buy a house. And so he went to his dad and said, "Can I move back in?" And the dad was smart enough to say, "Let me talk to your mother." And the mother had some very strong words. And they were, "He is never free. I will never live under the same roof with that kid again." I was so relieved the day he moved out and he had so disrespected me. I still haven't recovered. I don't think I will ever recover. And that would be a no, full stop, a no. We live in a society today where, we manage things. We have these small, tidy families, and something's going on. We've so micromanaged things that we communicate to our children that they're our idols, they're our gods, that they are the fountain and source of all our happiness and joy. They are the center of the universe, and they're entitled to anything what they want, irrespective of their behavior. And that's all a lie. So you got to look inside yourself and say, where am I at? What can I handle? What can I not handle? And what am I going to do about it? No one's entitled to a free ride their whole life until their parents are, I don't know, in the grave, and then you get their inheritance and you live on that too. I don't know. Gaming addiction is an addiction. The distinction is you got to have money. You got to have that, $1,000 cell phone in your pocket and that $2,000 gaming computer, or maybe not that, but you got to have the freedom to be gambling your life away, um, not doing the hard work of growing up. And you got to have people willing to facilitate this, if you're a kid. You know? So um, these are entitled addicts. It's, you got to think about this particular addiction from the perspective of entitlement. So it creeps in. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't know what was going on, and we didn't really know what was being done or what the addict was into. But there's a real awareness now. So what are the boundaries? Where are the boundaries? What are the standards? How are you going to go about it? But please know that nobody owes another human being a free ride for the rest of their life. No one's obligated to pick up after someone their whole God-given life. That's wrong. It's morally wrong. It's spiritually wrong. It's intellectually wrong. It makes no sense. So, okay, end of diatribe. But this is how it works because I looked at June 16th and thought, well, does what I'm thinking have anything to do with the next um, passage? Because I really think some of this needs to be said. And, I'm working on a handbook. I'm writing these things down, putting it in chapters, going in greater depth and organizing the material for everyone. But, a lot of people don't read books, thus the YouTube channel. And then I read the first sentence. It says, we talk a lot about the need to let others experience the consequences of their actions. So that friend of mine that we're talking, her son at 20 or 22, whatever it was, had the wake-up call that he didn't have a home to go to. That option was closed. And um, he needed to make amends. He really did, because there was a lot of hurt and harm there that didn't need to happen. And if he continued on, he wouldn't be able to maintain a relationship with another a partner because of how extreme his behavior was. So here we go, June 16th. In Al-Anon, we talk a lot about the need to let others experience the consequences of their actions. We know that most addicts have to hit bottom and become uncomfortable with their own behavior before they can effectively do something about it. Those of us who love addicts often have to learn to get out of the way of this bottom. We learn to detach with love. Another reason for detachment with love may be equally important in building healthy, loving, respectful relationships. Many of us have interfered not only with a loved one's problems, but also with their achievements. I may have the best of intentions, but if I take over other people's responsibilities, I may rob them of the chance to accomplish something and feel good about what they've done. Although I'm trying to help, my actions may be communicating a lack of respect for my loved one's abilities. When I attach with love, I offer support by freeing those I care about to experience both their own satisfactions and disappointments. Today's reminder: I am learning the difference between help and interference. Today, I will examine the way I offer support. And here's the quote: detachment did not mean disinterest. I consider detachment respect for another's personhood. And that's from Al-Anon Faces Alcoholism. So I raised my kids in Southern California. In our backyard, we had an orange tree, a Washington orange tree. And in the wintertime, there would be so many oranges on that. I didn't want them to rot. So we'd gather them up and we would squeeze them and we would have fresh squeezed orange juice. And I distinctly remember at one time we had a new kid living with us. I had an exchange student, and he was very respectful, wasn't living under his own roof, very sweet, very helpful around the house, just a blessing in so many ways. But I remember getting out the juice squeezer and saying, would you mind doing this chore, squeezing the oranges? And I kind of said, you got to scrub them, and there's, birds in the trees, and they've got bird poop out, and blah, blah, blah. I started giving some directions. He's like, oh, no, I'm happy to do it, but you have to let me do it. And I was like, huh? And he's like, oh, he wants to show me how he thinks through it, problem solves. I got to let him do it his way. Ah, got it. Roger, check, check. And his way, he did a better job than I would ever have done. And this individual took pride in everything he did, but that's the thing too, is getting out of the way also means giving them the freedom to choose or not choose, and to choose the how they do things. And oftentimes that's the rub in some people's craw. Some of our kids, some of our loved ones, they just really, they've got that rebel spirit, and they don't want anyone telling them how to do it. They'll do the thing. They don't want you watching them. They don't want you supervising them. They just want to do it themselves. It feels very demeaning to have someone standing over you telling you how to mop a floor, for example. Well, if they're really young, I taught my kids how to clean very, very young. They knew how to do it, but perhaps not a teenager, definitely not an adult, unless they say, would you mind showing me? And then there's another trick that goes on, is some people say, oh, yeah, I'll do that, but boy, I really don't understand how to do it. Can you show me? And they end up watching you do the job. So don't fall for that trick either. All right. Yeah, people are wily. They come in all shapes and sizes, and some of them, wow, are they lazy. All right. I'm going to stop talking now and pray you find the blessing in this passage in spite of all my words. Blessings on your day.